So 30.
Yeah, ish. We're going live. It's your stream. Say hello.
Good morning. Happy Saturday. And happy 4th of July weekend.
It is. There's going to be all kinds of festivities this weekend. Glad you're here. It is early in the morning, and we're waking up.
Yeah, good morning.
Hope you're waking up. Hope you're having fun. Of course, it might not be early in the morning, depending on where people are.
That's true.
It could be afternoon. Could be middle of the night.
If you're over the pond in the UK, I salute you. It still brings me a little bit of sadness on the 4th of July, knowing that I could have a British accent and I don't.
Well, you can work on it. Aren't there people who like bump their heads and then all of a sudden they get a different accent?
Yeah.
So maybe,
Yes.
if you see me over here whacking her on the head with like a bat or a hammer or something like that,
Try it again.
It's not spousal abuse. It's just me trying to have her get a
accent.
different accent. So we'll try that. Probably be safer just to move somewhere for a decade or two. Anyway, glad you're here.
Yeah.
What are you doing today?
Well,
You're going to want to move that in front of your face or
well,
move
it's
back.
kind of.
There we go.
Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay. Hello. Well, just kind of talking about whatever, if you guys have questions, etc. But the main reason is to give away my very first giveaway that I'm very, very excited about.
Yep, you got your own little thing, and it's not anything we've ever given away on Primetime Aquatics on our Wednesday live streams, so it's going to be a little bit different. Should be fun. Not that the other ones aren't fun. I think they are.
They're all fun.
But this one's just going to be fun different. So that'll be pretty cool. By the way, before we forget, if you do have questions, I almost said it wrong.
Did you?
You're going to want to put at the small scape in front of your question. That's going to highlight it for us in orange, makes it a little bit easier for us to see so that we can answer all the cool questions. You've got some cool stuff coming up next week on the channel, yeah?
Oh, yes. So this weekend, not only is it 4th of July festivities, but we're also going to be setting up the pond, aren't we? Because I need your help. I need your muscles.
So, backstory, I've been asking Joanna here to set up the pond now for quite some time.
I know.
Because it's now July.
It is.
And usually pond season starts a heck of a lot earlier. Now, granted, it was cold for a while. Then we had baseball stuff, and it got really hot.
Very hot.
But that's really not much of an excuse. And so we're going to be definitely late in the game setting up the pond this year, a lot later than we were last year. But it is going to get done. Fish, you'll see that on Wednesday. We've got them. They've been quarantined for a while. They're ready to go. You've got pond plans. So we've got all the stuff. Now it's just a matter of doing the stuff.
Doing the things.
Chris G said, "Where is your red, white, and blue shirt?" Well, that's funny you asked that because
We don't even have...
What did you say right before the stream?
Oh, we should wear red, white, and blue.
She literally said that, and I'm like, well, I already put this shirt on. And you know how it is in the morning? Once you've committed to a shirt and you've put it on over your head,
I know.
it's like, I don't really want to take this thing back off and put another shirt on over my head. So I got kind of close. This is blue-ish, and this is red. And
then I always think to
my
match,
face is white. So
and I match you because that's like my favorite color in this. I love plants, so I just like went to this one, and then we forgot the red, white, and blue. We could have even been wearing our red, white, and blue shirts.
Oh, duh. Yeah, we've got the Primetime Aquatics ones. That might have been the
C'est
whole
la vie.
reason.
So,
oh, well. Hold on. I'll be right back.
Hopefully you're wearing some red, white, and blue.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it's one of my all-time favorite color combos.
It's pretty cool.
Any kind of baseball team that we go to their gift shops, forget it. If they're red, white, and blue,
yeah.
forget it.
I know. World of Axolotls. I have got my second tank, and I'm learning your Scapes.
Ooh.
It's for a 5-gallon. I'm getting Cereus stone and driftwood.
Oh, that's going to be nice. The 5-gallon tank is really just an awesome tank if you like nano tanks. Even if you've never had a nano tank, highly recommend the 5-gallon size because you can put it pretty much anywhere, and you have a lot of scaping options, and you even have a number of stocking options.
Yeah. Did you do a stocking options for 5, or was that on our channel?
I believe I did. Yes,
Okay.
I did. The most recent one was the single fish that you can put in a 5-gallon. Just one single fish that you won't even be lacking anything else because you're going to be like, this fish is so awesome.
That's right. Now I remember. That was pretty cool.
Plants because I love plants. So, and that has to do with our giveaway too. If you want a tank with just plants, because why not? It's a water garden. It's an awesome, awesome thing.
Yep. So things coming up. I know if this will be a little bit redundant if you were with us on Wednesday, but some of you weren't. Let's see. Today is Saturday. We're doing a live stream. So today, Saturday, we're doing the live stream. So you don't have a special video coming out. But Monday on Primetime Aquatics, we have Fish Room Tour Part 2. Remind me that I've got to finish that video because I have this horrible feeling that just because I laid it all out and it's like basically done, that it's ready to go and I haven't finished it. So maybe just remind me that I need to do that tomorrow so that I don't wake up on Monday and be like, oops, sorry. So Monday, provided I don't forget to finish it, we have Fish Room Tour Part 2. I'm really excited to share that one. I think it's going to be pretty cool. Wednesday, you said on the small scape here, you've got the pond coming out, which will be awesome.
Yeah.
And then as we venture out into next Friday and beyond, it's going to be great stuff.
Other stuff.
Yep. Going to be other stuff.
This is a question from Peter. Can y'all talk about the essentials to starting a dwarf gourami tank? What kinds of things would you recommend if you're going to have a dwarf gourami tank? First of all, minimum size.
I would say a 20 gallon at least. A dwarf gourami doesn't get huge. So it's not about the fact that the fish is going to get as large as like the blues, the opalines, the golds, the pearl gouramis. Those all can get, 4 inches, maybe a little bit larger. Pearl gourami's larger for sure. The dwarf gourami's still only going to max out at around 3-ish inches or so. However, they can be assertive / sometimes even aggressive towards other community fish. And a 10 gallon, if they exert that assertiveness, you're going to have some issues. Now, if it was the only fish in the tank, well, maybe, but they're still actually somewhat active, especially when they're younger. So you've got the dwarf gourami in your 20. And what do you have that in? What's in that 20 besides the dwarf gourami?
I've got cribs and black neons.
Yeah, so that's a good combo. So with the dwarf gourami, at least a 20 gallon. Again, we're talking about this is the safest option. Can people put it in a 10? And if people have success, maybe. But if you really want to set yourself up for success, 20 gallon, either 20 high or a 20 long, it doesn't matter. Pick fish that are not going to get fin nipped. Like I generally don't like to try to keep them with guppies or platies, although I'm sure plenty of people have. If you're going to do tetras, that usually works. If you want to do, like we've got the black neons, those types of tetras, at least that size or larger will work just fine. I wouldn't keep them with any really tiny rasboras because they could become fish food. Like I said, I try to stay away from the longer fin fish like the guppies. I generally would not try to keep them with bettas. Your cory cats are fine. Your bristlenose are fine. So that's planted tank really works out well. I do like with the dwarf gouramis to keep it on a darker background and a darker substrate because those colors just really tend to pop off of those darker colors in the surroundings. So that's just my opinion. Krista says, please talk about the setup behind you. It's nice. So these 4 tanks back here, you talk about it because you set them all up.
All right, so those are from Lifeguard Aquatics. All 4 of them are like about 8.5 gallon tanks. We really like them. Everything's included and kind of hidden in the background, all the mechanical stuff. We've got currently, and I used similar kind of materials, like the driftwood is all similar, really dark and heavily planted, as you can see. Now I've got from left to right, we've got Mira rasboras, and then we have in here we've got the gold Heterandra formosa that are super tiny that you can't even see because they're really shy, and then in this one we've got the white clouds, and then the last one we have the ember tetras and a honey gourami.
And there are still some Neocaridina shrimp in there as well.
True.
So interesting side story about these tanks is none of them have none of them except for the one on behind Joanna's head has a heater. And we originally set those tanks up so that they would be room temperature water fish. That's why we picked a lot of the fish that we did originally. However, an interesting fun fact here is because we keep our house kind of warm because the fish room is in the basement, and to maintain that room, the fish room in the basement is between 80 to 82 most of the time, which keeps the tanks right around 78, 79 for the vast majority of the fish rooms, maybe a little bit higher, a little bit lower. That means we have to keep the temperature of the house some of you are going to cringe. We've mentioned this before. It's 78. So all year round. In the summer, it's great. It saves a lot of money because the air conditioning doesn't come on, and it just cools
great.
to 78.
It's great.
In the wintertime, it's definitely a blast of heat when you walk in from the cold. I'm like, oh, it's toasty in here. So we've gotten used to it for the most part. I know I have. The reason I mention it is we thought that these tanks back here would be 72, 73, 74. They're not. In fact, we have the aquarium co-op heater behind Joanna's head, and it's got the digital readout for the thermometer, and it is consistently 78 to 80. So we decided at that point, it's like, well, it really doesn't matter what we put in these tanks at this point. They don't have to be cool water. They can be anything. And that's how we rolled with it. That's why we've added the dwarf rasboras here, the honey gourami, and the embers are fine over there. And the other fish are fine too. It's not like they're gonna oh my gosh, it's too warm. They're perfectly fine. It's just the tanks are slightly warmer than we had thought they would be.
Mm-hmm. Jeff wanted to know what's the driftwood that has the least amount of tannins. That would be manzanita and spiderwood are going to have the least. Neca wood doesn't have a whole lot. That would be the next up. But if you're talking like, the bogwood or something, you're going to get a lot.
Yeah, the two worst for us are the Malaysian and the Mopani. Malaysian being the worst. Yeah. Obviously, if you boil the wood and you boil it and pour it out, pour it out.
After a long time.
Yeah, after maybe 4 or 5 rounds of that, a lot of the tannins go away, but you're still going to get some tannins in the water. We like the tannins. So when we're doing a driftwood tank, often we don't make a big point of boiling the wood. I mean, we will just for safety's sake, but not necessarily get the tannins out. But if we've got a bunch of tannins in a tank, we just enjoy it for the amount of time it's going to be there because we know as we do the water changes, the tannins are going to go away. So if you wind up with wood, you put it in the tank and the tank turns brown, don't worry. Enjoy it while it lasts. I know for some of you, I'm not going to enjoy that. Accept it while it lasts because as you do those weekly water changes, it's going to go away. I promise.
But one trick that I use if I want Malaysian and I don't want a whole lot of tannins, you can go to swaps and get some used pieces.
That's a good point. Yeah. And that if you go to the swaps and go wherever and get used driftwood, it's going to sink usually right away too. It won't float. The world of axolotls. Can I have a betta and a snail in a 5.5 gallon?
Sure. Generally, bettas that I've had have not ever bothered mystery snails. I have heard some bettas will find them very interesting, but in my experience, no. So it's something you could certainly try.
So for a long time, we had, I think it was a rack of 2.5 gallon tanks, right? Where we had a betta and a mystery snail in each one, and then we moved those out. Yeah, we started to, we're going to breed the bettas, and so we kind of kept them separate in these 2.5s. Wound up switching away from that because we wanted to give them some more space. But even still, in every betta tank that we've ever done, there's been a mystery snail in there, and we've had good luck. We've never had an issue. We've never had the betta picking at the mystery snail. If you want to maximize your chances of success, maybe put the mystery snail in first and then the betta later. But even that, we didn't have to do that. We put them in at the same time. Worked out just fine.
All right, Crystal, I've never had a nano tank. I bought 2 used 3 gallons with a heater and a built-in filter. I'm looking to put shrimp in there. What would be an ideal number to put in each of those tanks? In a 3 gallon, I'd probably put 4 or 5?
Yeah, I was thinking half a dozen.
Half a dozen?
Yeah. And then the only thing you have to be careful about with those tanks is where is the intake? Because usually those 3 gallon tanks, they have the little grating. And sometimes shrimplets will definitely get back there. So you just want to make sure you have a way to kind of block that off, whether that's a piece of sponge. Some people take some mesh and kind of, what would you do, silicone it, just to kind of cover that up a little bit so that little tiny babies don't get sucked in. It's not so much about the water flow, about them not being able to deal with it because it's fine. We've got these 8.3s, and so those pumps are designed for a tank that's 8.3 gallons, so the water movement's a little bit stronger. We don't have any issues with the shrimp getting sucked in. It's just if there were babies, they might crawl back there, and then you wouldn't know they're back there, and getting them out would be not fun.
James Nature Aquatics is here. Hey, great channel to watch, by the way. All right, I have a question for you, James, while you're here. Can you please let me know how many tanks you have and how many tanks do not have any fish in them?
Oh, that's a good question. Yep.
Yeah.
That is good.
Okay.
Killer Kitty 08, thank you so much for the little tiny super sticker.
Killer Kitty
Appreciate
08,
it.
yay.
What's up? How are you? Glad you're here. Glad you're here.
And there was another question. I'm used to looking at my phone, but my phone is slowly imploding.
Here.
I can't get to basically any apps
So,
anymore.
no, let's explain why that is. Because your phone is not
Okay.
slowly imploding.
Yes,
the
it is,
phone,
because it's so full. So I have one that's years old. It's got 64 gig.
Years.
It is years old. Yeah. But it's got 64 gig, and I take a lot of pictures and videos. And I don't download them onto any other device. They just sit on my phone, which I've heard a lot of people do the same thing, except you upgrade every few years, and you just, with technology, you just get more and more storage. So that is why it's so full that it can't function anymore. And some of the apps rely on the latest upgrade, and the upgrade needs a certain amount of space that it doesn't have. So I'm waiting to get another one. So that's why I'm not used to looking over here. It's kind of weird.
Now, some of us, like myself, as soon as I use a video, I delete it, and I will also put my photos on a hard drive. Mm-hmm. And then, some of us don't have that issue, but you're working through it.
I'm going to get to that because it's usually your computer. My only computer that I really use on a daily basis is my work computer. Can't do that. All right, so James answered. He has fish in everything except one that has cherry shrimp. Okay, I was curious if you had any little nanoscapes that didn't have any critters in there, because that's kind of my jam to do that sometimes, to not have any critters in there.
So Killer Kitty 08 says, well, I have to leave early. I had a 150-gallon bus yesterday while we were at work, and I still have a lot to clean up, but it is a great way to spend breakfast. Oh, it stinks. I'm sorry that happened. Anybody who's ever had water on the floor, it's one thing when you drip some water, when you do a water change, you're like, oh, you know what? Oops, I spilled a little bit of water. Even a gallon of water is if you took a gallon, filled it up with water, and went and just let that stuff go all over the floor, you'd be like,
oh boy,
oh, that's a big mess. That's going to take me a minute. We've had in our fish room, at one point we had a filter that 2 or 3 times, and after I think it was the third time, I'm like, all right, I'm throwing this filter in the trash. And it was relatively new. It was perfectly level, but for whatever reason, this thing would overflow out of the back. And we maintain our filters every single week. It was not a good filter. And the hang on back was putting it 3 times. It put water on the floor. It was in the 40 breeder. One time I came down, I caught it was this much. I'm like, oh, maybe the boys did something when they were maintaining it. I'll fix it up. Next time it was about the same. I'm like, what are they doing? And I'm talking Dad, we didn't do anything. We're just doing what we normally do. The third time, it put about 15 gallons of water on the floor. That time I threw it away. Mm-hmm. I had basically an Office Space moment with it. I'm like, oh yeah, I destroyed that thing. But 15 gallons of water required a shop vac and some fan, and it's tile. And it all slopes towards the floor drain anyway. So it was in the corner of the fish where the 40-gallon breeder was. It was the one in the upper left-hand corner where we breed our bristlenose plecos. You'll see that tank on Monday. But it just basically poured all underneath the stands, went around the corner, underneath the 20-gallon stands, by the sink, and then eventually into the floor drain. But there was still a lot of water on the floor.
Bummer.
Not cool.
Maria, I know you're over in the UK.
Cool.
Lucky. I know you said that you don't have fish clubs over there, and you were thinking you should maybe start one. Yes, you should start one. That would be so fun. I'm sure that's how a lot of fish clubs start.
It is how a lot of fish clubs start.
They don't have one,
yep.
Or they can't make it to one because it's too far away. So they're like, well, I'm just going to start one myself. And swaps, and then you get all that fun stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, it'd be pretty cool.
Victoria Lee says, I recently realized I use a lot of stone and barely any driftwood. I definitely need to change that.
Some scapes, yeah, that's sweet. Have a lot of variety. Yeah.
Open up all new options.
Even as much as I adore aquatic plants, I do really love tanks that have only rock.
Yeah, and it's very appropriate, too, for a lot of the African cichlid stuff that we do. Mm-hmm. So Lake Tanganyika and Lake Malawi, Lake Victoria, there's not a lot of driftwood, hardly any plants, although we do add a fair amount of plants to some of those tanks. Not the Mbuna tanks or the Peacock, but some of the Lake Victorian and Lake Tanganyika tanks.
Yeah.
Like I did the ornatus species profile yesterday, Julichromis ornatus. If you haven't seen it, check it out. It's really cool. It's a great fish. Stays small, so for people who are looking to get into cichlids, but don't have a big tank because they always hear, oh, they're really aggressive. Oh, they need large tanks. Well, we've got them in a 20 long. That was the video. They're in a 20 long. Ton of guppy grass in there. They leave it alone. You could plant it. We've got a bunch of lake tanganyika plants with Nubius and Java fern and jungle val and crypts. For the most part, it's cool. And I just saw a comment somewhere about guppy grass.
Oh, so did I. I was going to read it.
Something about...
It's from Peter.
Yes.
Having an issue growing it. You were trying to plant it in a 10-gallon maybe, something like that? Do you have any tips?
Here it is. Please talk a little bit about planting and growing guppy grass. I recently experienced nightmare trying to plant some in a 10-gallon.
I don't.
You don't like guppy grass? Yeah.
Well, I'm
a guppy grass person. I like it.
I've had it in one of my 7 gallons downstairs with.
And that wasn't even on purpose.
It was a pumpkin shrimp. No, it just wound up going in there, and I couldn't get rid of it. It loved that tank.
So again, Julichromis ornatus tank. You see that guppy grass? Don't plant it. It's not a plant that should be put in substrate or anything like that. I wouldn't glue it to anything because the stems will just get weak and break up anyway. To me, every time I've used guppy grass and I've had success growing it, I just chuck it in there and let it float and let it kind of fill the tank, just like you saw on the video from yesterday. That's the way it is in all the tanks that we have. I will say it can be a little bit of a challenge sometimes because it grows really fast, but then once it uses up the nutrients, it also dies very, very quickly. And when it dies, it leaves a horrific mess. So it's kind of like hornwort in that respect, where it just falls apart, and now you got to get gravel vac, and it clogs up the gravel vac. So we do the gravel vac shake. Anybody ever do that when you're gravel vacuuming stuff and you've sucked up a bunch of dead leaves and now it's getting clogged? So you take it out, you put your hand over it, shake, and put it pour the stuff out in a bucket, and then go back to gravel vac again. So with the guppy grass, there's a balance there. I don't know why, but in certain tanks, it just works out really well where it grows. Like our guppy party tank that we had from a long time, we called it the guppy party tank. It was a 20-gallon breeding tank, and it just had, I don't even know how many guppies in there, just 100, 200. We'd pull them out, sell them at swaps. But that tank and the Julichromis ornatus tank, the guppy grass just grows, stabilizes, and never dies back for the most part. Other tanks, if you start to see it die back, you do have to add maybe a little bit of liquid fertilizer, but don't do as much as they tell you to do on the bottle. So usually it's like 1 squirt per 10 gallons. Well, if I have a 20-gallon tank, I'm not putting 2 full squirts in there, because then the issue is you wind up getting green hair algae mixed in with your guppy grass, your hornwort, and now it's like, I can't even deal with this anymore. So trick is, don't try to plant it. Don't try to glue it. Throw it in there, float it. If it is going okay on its own, don't add any liquid fertilizer. If you see it starting to die back, I would do half doses of liquid ferts. Hope that helps.
Oh, Static, happy Saturday. Happy Saturday.
So,
Carolyn wants to know, I have a 20-gallon tall with LRB guppies. Cool.
Nice.
Just added 3 hillstream loaches to clean up some algae. Do you have any unique ideas for feeding the loaches? The guppies surround everything. Like guppies do.
Yeah, guppies are maniacs when it comes to eating stuff.
Never had loaches. What do you...
The hillstream loaches?
Yeah.
So I haven't had them in a very long time. What I usually recommend for fish like that, and I don't remember if they are as active at night as some of the other loaches and scavenger fish are, but typically speaking, with anything that's going to be a scavenger, especially ones that rely a little bit on algae type foods that would benefit from that.
Sinking algae wafers?
Yeah, but the guppies will eat those. Oh. Like really fast.
Wow.
So what I usually do, because we'll have that question with bristlenose plecos, otocinclus, feed them at night. So after, just try it, but try it with a very small amount of food first to make sure that they are eating it. After the lights go off, wait about 15 or 20 minutes, put in whatever you would normally feed the hillstream loaches. Feed maybe a quarter to a third of what you normally would feed. In the morning, if it's all gone, you're like, okay, that worked. It didn't fall apart in my substrate. It didn't, just dissolve. It didn't make my, just sit there and rot. And then you can go eventually just move it up into full feedings, and that should solve the problem. That's just a good rule of thumb for any fish that is going to get out-competed and is awake at night. Because some fish, they're just not awake, and then you're just going to have a mess.
Oh, bye, Noelle.
Hi.
No, bye.
Bye.
She's got to go. Bye.
Hi and bye.
Thanks for stopping by.
And stay classy, San Diego. Do it. You got to say it again. And thanks for stopping by.
Oh, yeah, right.
And stay classy, San Diego.
Thanks for stopping by.
We won't do the rest of that
No,
because
no.
that's just not appropriate.
No.
Let's see. Adam says, I recently signed up for my local fish club. I was wondering if there is anything you suggest bringing with me. Money. Bring money. Cash money.
Yeah, cash.
The reason for that is, I'm not just talking about the swaps, but if your fish club is anything like every fish club I've ever been to, they will often have some kind of a breeder awards program, otherwise known as a BAP. They will usually do fish auctions at the end of the meeting where, just members bring in fish and, okay, we've got this bag. It was brought in by Billy Frankie Joel over there, and it's a bag of guppies, and let's start the bidding out at $1. And people are like, hey, $1, $2, $3. So I don't know if they do that because I don't know what the fish club is, which one you join, but every one I've ever been to, they have the after the meeting BAP auctions / we just brought in some fish. The one I went to in Pasco County was really cool. That was probably the biggest fish auction I've ever seen at just a regular club meeting. There were hundreds of bags there. Our fish club meetings tend to be not quite so crazy with the number of fish that are brought in, but money and just enjoy it. Get to know people. I find myself when I'm at the meetings, I just close my mouth and listen because there are people there who have been keeping fish a lot longer than I have. And I've learned some really interesting things from them. And these are often people in these clubs are really into breeding and really into keeping fish. And so they have learned a lot over the decades. And I just like to listen to them talk about their experiences.
Static has a question. What advice can you give for growing peace lily and other houseplants from the top of your tank? I'm actually not going to speak to that because I haven't done it yet, but I will be getting into that very soon. You could probably watch. I know a peace lily is great to grow out of tanks. You can also look at ponds because ponds with fish are the same thing. And a lot of those plants you can use the same. I personally like bacopa because it can kind of trail on the top. Creeping Jenny is also a relative that you can use out in a container out in the garden, but you can also, it'll creep along the water. That looks really kind of cool, but that's kind of more like pond-like. So the peace lily, MD Fish Tanks did a really awesome peace lily tank. It's a great choice, but no, I won't give you any tips yet because I don't have them yet. Once I do start working with them, I'm sure I'll have some weird tips.
And pothos is great. We do a lot of pothos in one side of the fish room where you can just put the stem itself. So you get a stem of pothos that's got some nice healthy leaves, cut it, put the stem in the water. It will start to grow the roots only. Don't put the whole plant in the water, just the stem part, the open part that you just cut. And the roots grow out. And in some of our tanks, it's grown quite a bit, and it will suck up a lot of nutrients from the water. So it could certainly cut down on water changes. Some people will put the pothos not in the tank itself because they don't want to deal with the roots, but in the back of a hang-on back filter. As long as you've got enough light for it to grow, it can go pretty crazy. You just have to worry about it when you put it in the filter. Be careful because the roots, they really do spread out. You don't want them growing into the impeller, shutting your filter down, because that'd be not so good.
The only reason that I'm not real keen on pothos, I know it does have some benefits and a lot of people like it, is because it doesn't, if I'm going to add plants like houseplants or terrestrial plants or immersed plants, I want it to look like land. Like, so you have different levels, because if you have an aquarium, I say add some land, and if you have a terrarium or something like that, add some water. I like to see both. So with just pothos kind of hanging out at the top, I don't know. So at some point I'll probably work on some sort of weird scape, including pothos, and giving it some like land.
Now I understand what you're saying, Joanna, but my counter argument to that.
Sounds funny when you use my name,
Joanna. I'm going to have to.
Okay.
I'm going to have to
What do you
disagree
got?
with you then. Okay?
What do you like to do in your aquascapes?
Okay. It's not my aquascape. Here's what I would say. If you haven't already seen this video, go on to Prime. Not right now because we're all hanging out and we're having a fun time. But after, if you've got some time, go to Primetime Aquatics. It was a video I did a few weeks ago. It was a garage fish room.
Oh.
This dude, it was crazy. He had pothos. Basically, it was like 40 feet long. It was going everywhere. So my point was, while I understand with the scaping aspect, you might want to mix those two things, and I totally get that. I agree. But if you're not a crazy aquascaper person, you just want to add some nature and surround your tank with something that looks natural.
Sure.
Pothos will grow everywhere. I mean, we've got it in the fish room growing up the wall, growing up the stands. I just think it looks cool. It kind of blends the tanks into a little bit of nature. Mm-hmm. Here's a good question. DK Chef. I am up to 6 tanks now, and the water changes are just taking too much time. Just using the old school vac. Any recommendations to make it easier and faster?
Well, the first question would be, are the 6 tanks right next to each other? Wouldn't
Very
that
true.
kind of... what size are the 6 tanks?
Also true. So there's a couple things. Just so you know how we do it. In our fish room, I built a wastewater system out of PVC. That's not practical for a lot of people, but basically I angled it. I think it's 1 inch for every 4 feet. So it's kind of got an angle. So I know where I'm starting and where the drain is, and I kind of work my way backwards. And it goes all around the perimeter of both rooms. And I drilled holes in it so that we can fit gravel vac hoses right into the hole. The water goes into the drain and eventually empties into the floor drain. So if you've got a basement or something, you could consider doing that. Obviously, you'd have to move some stuff out of the way. You'd have PVC going around. Not everybody loves that. Another option, where you don't have to be that intrusive, depending on the size of the tanks, get a container. That can be a 5-gallon bucket. That can be a garbage can on wheels. You can siphon all 6 tanks at the same time. So you could run 6 different, depending if they're close to one another, you could potentially run all 6 tanks draining into that same container, put a pond pump in that container with a hose, run the hose wherever you want, out the door, in a bathtub, in a sink drain, doesn't matter. The pump is going to drain the bucket or the garbage can as the water's coming in. So you'd have to play a little bit with the flow rates, right? So, okay, how many tanks can I drain? And how much volume can my pond pump or my water pump keep up with before I start running into an issue? But that can make life way easier because now the draining process is very simple. And then when it comes to filling, you can use like the Python. Aqueon's got one that works just fine. We did one that was kind of homemade where it just screws right onto the nozzle of your sink. Long hose. We built a little PVC elbow that hooks right onto the tank, and you just turn it, and a little lever, turn it on, turn it off. I should probably do a better video just explaining how we do that. But it can be really, really easy to do.
The other thing I would suggest is if they are, you can sometimes work this out. How many times do you gravel vac these tanks?
Once, and I didn't really even need to do it. So these tanks are kind of an experiment going on here where I wanted to see, and they're not heavily stocked.
And a lot of plants.
But I don't know how long we've been up here in this studio, but I think it's been, like, if we were to go back and look at, hey, we got a new studio, it's probably been close to a year. Maybe it was last fall. I don't remember. But it's been a while. And we set these tanks up about 3 weeks after I set them up. I think I pulled some water out only because the tannins were pretty strong and we were getting a lot of reflection. So that was the primary reason why I did. That was the only time I've done it. Ever since then, it's been top offs. Every once in a while, I'll go through and check water hardness, pH. It's been remarkably stable because there's not a lot of inhabitants and there's a lot of plants there sucking nutrients, sucking minerals out of the water. So far, it's worked out just fine. I'm not saying everybody should just go out and do no water changes. What I'm saying is test your water. We generally use our nitrate concentrations as a barometer as to how much water to change and when, and we try to keep it at 20 parts per million or less, and that's working out great. If we had a major problem with nitrate in these tanks, we have a ton of algae, and we don't. So, yeah.
Matthew just had chocolate waffles, lucky,
Ooh.
And has the same water bottle as you.
This one?
I got that for him for Christmas.
Yeah. I like it, except every once in a while when the water sits on the lip of the thing and then
you drip on it and dribble.
Yeah, inevitably, at least the first couple of times, and then it goes away. I don't know what's
cool.
up. Hey,
wait, before we go. All right, so James says Wabi Kusa is where it's at. Heck yeah, that's where it's at. Now in my world, in my gardening world, we call that kokodame. So it's kind of the same thing. It's like kind of like a ball wrapped. You have plants coming from kind of what I call an island of goodness. It's just amazing. So yeah, I'm getting into that too. I've had multiple experiments running through the years, but yeah, it's so cool. so cool.
It is cool. We'll answer one question,
don't
then we're going to get into the live stream. I don't know what a wabi kusa is. Don't even ask me.
Then we're going to get into the live stream?
Get into the giveaway. The live stream giveaway.
Yes.
We got to do that. Because these live streams on
Giveaway.
Saturdays are only an hour, so if we wait
Right.
too long, then it's going to be too long. We'll be like, oops,
Here
sorry.
you go. Okay, bye.
Barky B says, should I switch my guppies that are in a 10-gallon and my koi cats into my 40 breeder with my three cribs, 3 cribs, and 2 coolie loaches? You could try it. I've kept that combination before. I didn't have any issues, especially in a 40 breeder. That's a pretty big space with just the 3 why can't I say that word today? 3 cribensis and the 2 coolies. It's worth a try. Just keep an eye on it. I wouldn't break down the 10 just yet, just in case you're like, oh, you know what? These cribs, they were a little bit unreceptive to the guppies being there. You just don't want to see any ripped fins or anything like that. So try it out. Keep the 10 going for a week or two if you can. Just ready to move the guppies back if it doesn't work. And if it does, great. But it's certainly a thing that I wouldn't hesitate to do. So Victoria Lee, Jason needs coffee. I don't drink coffee.
He doesn't drink it. And he's still alive.
Yeah.
It's so weird.
Yep. I wake up like this. I wake up ready to go for the most part. I got my water, my little breakfast, and I can wake up in the morning and just start talking. And pretty much no one in this family is like that. Like right now, Luke, our oldest. Remember Luke from like the little Bristol Nose Pleco video we did? He was like a little bitty guy. He's down there. He's like 6 foot, 6'1". He's all sitting down there in his, his muscle shirt. Like, I'm just sitting on my phone. He doesn't talk in the morning, and then he gets upset
people don't talk in the morning.
if you talk to him in the morning.
No.
Eli just wanders around mumbling in the morning for the most part. He gets up.
And I don't talk until I've had my coffee.
So
and then maybe.
I'm just here.
Random words.
with voices in my head having a conversation.
Is it time to do a giveaway?
Okay, yeah. So why don't you show what the giveaway thing is, and then you're going to need this.
Okay.
And we're on. By the way, and we sometimes forget to mention this on the Wednesday streams when we do the giveaways, because people get confused. They're like, oh, you know what? I won. I was the first one to guess a number or whatever. And it's like, no. You have to really make sure. There's 2 options when you're on YouTube when you're looking at the chat. One of them is called top chat. The other one is called live chat. You have to be on the live chat setting. That's what's showing it in order. Top chat just kind of shows what YouTube thinks are going to be the comments that are most relevant to you. They'll show your own comments first, and that will show people.
Oh, is that what it does?
Yeah, so that's why I think people get confused. Is like, no, I was the first one. It's like, well, if you're in top chat, you are getting different priorities. Live chat is the priority, like the actual order in which it's coming in. Okay, so show off what we're giving away.
Okay. I wish we could do like a drum roll. Do you want to do a drum roll?
All right, ready?
Okay.
Ding, ding. So
It's a little tiny tank. It's the Venti. It's the Aquatop Venti tank. And it has everything in it, including the tiniest little light, and except a heater. There's no heater in here. But how I would use this, and okay, so when I got one from Aquatop,
do you want me to hold it?
I said, is there any way I can get another one that I can give away? So here it is. Now I'll be scaping this very soon. I've already got kind of one started, and so you'll see what I do with it. But I don't really intend on putting anything in here because it's only a 1 gallon. So maybe you could put like a little pond snail in there if you wanted. If you're an experienced fish keeper, maybe for a little bit, some little shrimplets maybe. But me, it's just going to be my little water garden, and I just love that too.
Yeah. So to be clear, don't put fish in here. It's too small to put fish in. I mean, the tank that's right over here, that's like a 2, isn't it? And we don't put fish in there either.
For the
like
video, we had a couple little shrimp in there, but not for long.
So this is not a fish thing, but it's a really cool all-in-one. It's got the filter. It's got the light.
It's very easy to set up. It's got a nice little lid.
If you're only going to do snails or a snail, mystery snail, or some ram's horn snails or shrimp, you don't need a heater anyway. So it's basically ready to roll here. So again, big thank you to Aquatop. This is one they gave us a while back. If you like this tank, check out Flip Aquatics. They are a channel sponsor. They have them now. Yeah, I just saw that they have these little bitty tanks on their website too. So you can check out flipaquatics.com. So today, because I'm sitting over here, I have the power. I got to pick the number. And what we're going to do here, let me type this in.
A filtered wabi kusa tank. Yes.
There you go. So what you need to do to win this tank, and you got to be in the continental 48 United States because we can't ship out of the country or to Alaska or Hawaii. So as long as you're in the continental 48, you are eligible to win. Are we ready? You need a number between 1 and 15. Go. So first person who picks the right number between 1 and 15, you are going up. Done. We're already done.
Really?
Yep. We can stop now.
Oh, wow. That was fast. Usually this goes for a
Jeez.
while, although you only
Yeah.
put like
Well,
1 to
because,
15,
yeah.
a small range.
So we're
That's
already
true.
done.
Okay.
You can stop typing the numbers. Holy cow, that was very quick.
Wow, it's never been that fast.
It has never been that fast, but here's the number. Number is 14.
Matthew.
And Matthew, you just, boom, you nailed it
Now
right
you
away.
match his water bottle and the tank.
Well, that's kind of crazy, actually. So, yeah, the number was 14. So, Matthew, here's the deal here. Congratulations, by the way.
Yeah, congrats.
What you need to do is you need to send your mailing address to, ready? Here's the email you have to send it to, primetimegiveaway@yahoo.com. So you're going to send your mailing address to primetimegiveaway, all one word, at yahoo.com. And once we have that, we will pack this thing up and send it to you. So congratulations. Thanks, everybody, for playing the game.
Yeah, and I think there is. Didn't they change the packaging after this?
I don't know.
Because they mentioned that you can put like a Betta in here, but I wouldn't.
No,
I
don't
would-
do that.
I would
In
not.
fact,
That's-
Aquatop, we were in contact with them. They're like,
Yeah.
so when they originally designed this tank, they thought, oh, this would actually be cool as a display, like a store display, instead of putting them in the cups.
Yeah.
They would have a filtered, enclosed space designed to be, where the Bettas would be in there for a short period of time. It'd be better than just putting them in a cup. But that is, you don't want to do that long term.
No.
That would be, like I said, ram's horn snails and maybe a mystery snail. Ooh, James Green had the 14 later. I'm just looking through here now with everybody who put the stuff in there.
I know, right?
Yeah, there was some people decided I'm going to go more than the number of 1 to 15. Dead Poet had a 14 as well.
Oh,
So-
Barky B. Yes, you were a previous winner. I remember sending that to you. Yay!
Victoria Lee had 14. So some of you guys had 14. You just typed it in.
Poop.
Tracy was like, bam, 3, 5, 6,
Oh!
1. You must have like, what do you have, like rapid fingers?
Yeah, that
Holy
is.
cow. She typed in like 5 choices and like boom, 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 rapid fire. Congratulations. So that was cool. That was a fun little, and we'll do more. So don't worry. If you didn't win, I know it can be slightly disappointing, but we will do, you'll have more on your channel.
Yes, I will.
A lot of the vendors that we deal with now, it's kind of one of the things. It's like, oh, you're going to send us this thing, send us 2, or send us 5, or send us 10, so that we can do lots and lots of giveaway stuff. We would like to do that, because that's actually even more fun for us. Is like, okay, well, you gave us a tank, that's great, we'll check it out, we'll test it, but can you give us a few more?
Yeah.
Because I think it would be cool to pass that along to people. So
Yay.
congratulations. Very nice. All right, I don't know if I can get to any of the questions. I guess I
Oh, maybe
can still get to
some.
some. So if you ask the question before the giveaway, re-ask it. Oh, Ink Master's here. What's up?
Hey, Crystal.
Ask it again, just because our chat, once you get so many people commenting, there's only so far up I can go, and then any question that was before that starts to get lost. Grow and Clip Bonsai, what's up? Glad to see
Oh,
you.
hey, Tom.
How about a planted tank for a 1 gallon? Should be a good one for the small Scape.
Yes, that's.
Yeah, that was
if you're
before we did the
just-
giveaway.
Yeah. If you're just tuning in, yes, that's what will be going in here. It's just going to be a water garden.
Well, in the one
For
that you
mine,
have, not the
for-
one that
yeah,
you're giving
for
away.
for the one that I'm going to be doing, because I have the identical one that I'm working on a Scape for it. It's going to be super fun.
Yeah.
I have plants like stashed in a whole bunch of different tanks.
Yeah. Yeah, you've got a lot of plants
I do.
all around the place.
Little
And
plants.
when you don't have plants, you just take them from the tanks that technically are mine. And I really like
Yeah.
them the way they were.
If you have too many,
Yeah.
sorry,
Oh, well.
not sorry.
Oh, Victoria Lee says, smack the like button. Yeah, smack it
Yes.
right in the side of the head.
Smack it.
Give it a good old Saturday smack.
Oh, here we go. Lakeisha. Hi, Lakeisha. All right, so this is for both of us. What size nano for a bluefin or least killie? Have you guys ever kept Everglades pygmy sunfish? What size for those? I had a pygmy sunfish. Never saw them.
We had a few in that 20.
was
So
there-
well, we had them.
Oh yeah.
We had
there
pygmies
were.
in a 10, and then we put them in a 20. That was probably a mistake. That was too big, and they were very, very, very shy. So hold on, we've got least killie, and then we have the sunfish, right?
And the bluefin.
But I thought that was a
Is that a
least
least?
killie.
It's a bluefin or least killies. I don't know what's a bluefin.
I'm not sure.
We'll
so
just answer to the.
so
least killie.
Florida least killie. What do you think?
Well, I had them once in a 5, kind of smallish for that, but they only stick to the top of the tank.
Yeah, at least
Really?
they did in that setup. 5 gallons perfectly fine. You've had them in the 3.5 bookshelf tank, which worked out very well. That bookshelf tank was as long as a 10, but obviously it was much shorter.
No.
Yes, they're in there right now.
Oh, you're talking about the Florida. Oh, I'm sorry. I was talking killifish. I just immediately went to the killifish, which I was like, yeah, that they they stayed at the top.
That's why I was like, what are you talking about?
The
I'm like,
killifish.
did they?
Yes, the Formosas. I call them
Heteroandra formosa. Yeah, the
my little
Florida
fernies.
least killie. So the Florida least killie, for those of you who don't know, they're a live bear. They get
super tiny.
They're very, very small. The females get, and I wish there's no way you're gonna be able to see them in there.
No.
They hide in the subwasser, or the subwasser tank. Is that where they're hiding? No,
They're in the next
they're in
tank
this
over
one
there.
now, hiding over there. But females get maybe a ½ inch, slightly larger. Males even smaller. Not crazy active, not super fast. So 5 gallon is going to be plenty of space. You start with a half dozen, hope they breed. You're in really good shape. Like I said, we've had them in smaller, 3.5 gallon
The
bookshelf tanks
They got lots
because
of.
they're longer, but not very high, not very wide. Perfectly fine. The other one, what was the other one? Oh, pygmy sunfish.
Yes.
We haven't kept those as much. I will say a larger tank, you're not going to see them. So maybe a 10, but I also thought they could be the males could be a little bit rough on one another. Maybe I'm misremembering because, like I said, we've only kept them twice. But in terms of their activity level and their size, a 5 gallon might work for a pair. I just don't remember about the aggression side of things. So 10 for sure. But even with those, if you have a heavily planted tank, it might be one of those fish where you don't see it very often. But the pygmy sunfish are phenomenal. When you do see them, it's very
worth it.
rewarding.
Super chat from Chris.
Thank you, Chris.
You. What a great way to spend a Saturday morning, J&J.
We agree.
Yay.
We agree. Thanks for being here.
Thanks.
Glad y'all are here.
Super fun.
Yeah. All right, let me see here. I am scrolling around. Dave from Iowa is here. Thanks for hanging out with us. Let's see here. James says sunfish can be aggressive. So, but the pygmy sunfish, right? I'm not talking about the big ones. The big ones, yeah, they're brutal. I've kept those before, but the pygmy sunfish are only like this big. They're about an inch, maybe. But regular sunfish and like the bluegill and stuff they're like cichlids. A lot of people try to keep them in. Oh, I've got a spare 29. Let me throw some that I just caught, and they're this big, and they will destroy each other. I've had them in. Let me rephrase. I had one in a 55 gallon with some yellow perch that were growing out. They were only about this big. That worked out fine, but if you put a bunch of bluegill in a tank, you better have a big tank because they're not nice. They are not. And pumpkin seeds, same thing. Pretty. And the other thing too, a lot of people when they catch bluegill and they pull them out of a lake, they look at them with the sun shining like, oh my gosh, these are so pretty. Wouldn't they look amazing in a fish tank? They really, at least the bluegill, the pumpkin seeds look better, but when you put them in a tank, they really muddy up because with the light coming straight down, they don't look nearly as nice as when the light is shining off the side, like when you pull them out of a lake and you think they look all pretty. So that's just my observation.
Okay, so B101, happy Monday or Saturday. Love it.
Monday, Saturday, whatever.
And then Oinkmaster, please don't forget to apply some love to the like button so it lights up like a 4th of July sparkler.
Wow.
Is there anything more beautiful than a 4th of July sparkler? I still remember those. Ugh.
Oh, yeah, they're beautiful until you burn your fingers.
Well, then you can just recreate one with holographic thread.
Yeah. I remember one time on 4th of July when I was a kid, I had a firecracker blow up in my hand. I was like a little kid. I don't know what my parents ever did. They never watched us. Like, they never paid attention to what we were doing, which was kind of fun as a kid because you could just be gone all the time and do stupid things. But then you'd, like, have a firecracker blow up in your hand. Like, well, that had a very you learned stuff like that, had a very short wick. It went really fast, and I didn't throw it in time.
Oh, geez.
And now I've got 3 fingers that are numb, and they hurt. So I don't know. I probably learned that lesson for about 45 minutes, and I was back to doing dumb stuff again. So be careful out there with fireworks and be very safe.
Yeah, be safe.
Because it's not worth the injuries sometimes. D says, guppies with neocaridina, good or bad idea? Will they snack on them? They will snack on the babies for sure. Guppies are very curious fish.
And shrimp are
they
tasty.
love
Dinners.
to look for food. If you ever watch guppies, they basically are like goldfish. They spend most of their life swimming around, either trying to have more guppies is probably like their number one thing they like to do. And if they're not doing that, they're looking for food. So they are very curious, very inquisitive, and they will find those guppy or the shrimp babies.
James says you were a free-range child.
Yes, to say the least. And that's one of the reasons
yeah.
why I tell this story, because why I'm into fish is we would go out in the summertime as kids, like a group of 5 or 6 of us. We'd grab our buckets, we'd walk the mile down to the creek, and we would spend all day there. And we would snakes and turtles and frogs and fish and crayfish and pretty much everything. I remember one time I caught this. I tell this story all the time. My kids are probably sick of hearing it. The creek ran under like a major road, and there was a tunnel, and we would go under there. And sometimes in the late summer there wouldn't be enough water to really get a lot of water in the tunnel part. And there were cracks. And I remember there was a snake sticking out of the crack of this tunnel, and I grabbed it by the tail and I was yanking on it to try to get it out. Well, it wound up being about 2 feet long. And maybe, I don't know, maybe some of you know, but I haven't been able to figure out what it was, and it's been a long time. It had a gray top, but the body, the belly of it was flat and it was pink, but it was a very light tan top, pink flat underbelly. And I never had a snake like that because usually they're more rounded. This one was like shaped like the letter D. And I was playing with it one day, and I was playing with it in the storm gutter because are you getting the idea of like what kind of childhood I had? It had rained. I'm like, oh, it's rain. Let me go get the snake and we'll put it in the water. And it was so fast and went right down the drain. I was like, I just lost my snake.
This weirdo's back.
Yep, I just lost my favorite snake. Oh. Not cool. So, and it was in Illinois. So it was in Illinois, around the Chicagoland area. Victoria Lee, thank you so much for the super chat. Because fish is life. Okay. How are you going to argue that? I mean, we're here with a bunch of fish nerds.
Uh-huh.
Static says, how would Mbuna be with floaters? Wanting to maximize green-based nitrate control with the fish that don't like greens. They'll eat them. I feed all kinds of stuff like that. I'll feed the duckweed, the big duckweed. They eat everything that floats at the top. They eat hornwort. Guppy grass never survives. So Mbuna love them some greenery. Doesn't matter what it is for the most part. You could try the pothos, but again, I would try it 2 different ways. Way number 1 is you could try to put the stem in the water. That hasn't worked particularly well for me either. Or if you wanted to, you could put the pothos stem, like I said, in the hang-on back earlier. Just make sure the roots don't grow into the impeller area. And then make sure there's enough light above the hang-on back so that the pothos has the light and it'll get the nutrients as the water's coming through the hang-on back. So that could be something to try.
Can I add betta fish with glow widows? Or will the glow widows nibble them? What are glow widows? Glow
Daniels, maybe?
Spell check like change?
Might have. I don't think offhand there's any glowfish I would add with a betta, because they're either going to be like the glass tetra type glowfish, or they're going to be Daniels, which would be a really bad idea. Yeah, I don't think I would. I think they just get a little bit too curious and nippy. So that's probably how I would roll with that. Lewis says, stocking ideas for a 37-gallon tall. Maybe a couple angelfish. So for those of you who don't know, the 37-gallon is basically a 29-gallon or a 20 long. It's just much taller. Could you do a pair of angels in a 37? Yeah, as long as they're getting along okay. But then I wouldn't put a whole lot else in that tank because there's not a ton of space in there. And if they do start to breed, you will have some territorial things going on. So make sure they are a male, female, or 2 females, because if you get 2 males, that could also potentially be an issue. But yeah, 37 is a very tall tank, so it could work. I know a ton of people who breed angels in 37s because they really like it. But yeah, 37 is an interesting. So just generally speaking, a 37-gallon, I would use the 29-gallon stocking ideas video that we did, and just carry it over to a 37 because it's just a little taller than a 29. I've got Brichardi. So in the Fish Room Tour Part 1 that came out on Monday, I have the Brichardi breeding in there, and that works out really well.
Let's see. Mary, you thank you so much. You have tanks with Anubias, 3 different varieties of each. Oh my gosh, that sounds amazing. anything with multiple varieties of Anubias, sign me up. And let's see, Deanna, I just picked up my first 55 gallon. I am looking for plants that get tall that won't get destroyed by my pair of super reds. I would say Val is going to be your best friend. Jungle Val. You could do corkscrew Val, is amazing looking. That'll get really tall. You could do some Anubias. Would get really, Cophifolia gets really tall. So does Gracilis. That's my favorite, one of my favorite Anubias. Let's see what else would get super tall.
What size
of course,
tank was that?
55.
Okay.
But plecos, so probably not swords.
No, yeah, I would most likely stay away from the swords.
Those would be my two. I'm usually not thinking of like super tall. I'm looking
There
for
are
like
some taller
short.
crypts, taller Anubias. I think those are our 3 easy beginner ones. The Val, the Anubias. We've got some Anubias now, and I'll show them off when we get into part whatever of the fish room tour. Once we move to the other side, probably part 5 or something. I don't know, but we've got some Anubias that is every bit as tall as a 29 gallon. The 29s aren't much shorter than a 55. They might even be really close to the same height, and those crypts in there too are every bit as tall. So,
and you know what else? Dwarf umbulia will get really tall too.
I guess it's not so dwarfy after all.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
Bunch of liars. They told me I had a tiny plant. Next thing I know, a 2.5 gallon is all filled up.
Bacopa can get really tall. I've never had it because I usually get it at tissue culture, and I like when it grows really slow.
Yeah.
But yeah, there you go. There's some fun stuff.
Ricky says, "Hey, Jason and Joanna, nice to see you guys on a Saturday. Nice to
Ricky.
see you too. I have a tank on the floor with some endlers, and the hornwort died."
Oh no!
That's not
needles
funny,
everywhere.
but, yeah.
Brown needles everywhere.
How can a
Ugh.
gravel vac without a python?
Oh, a tank on the floor. That's my favorite.
We generally
Bucket?
try as hard as we can not to do that. So the python will work, because at least it'll work for a little while. It should work enough to get the stuff off the ground. And here's, you said it's a 29? Is that what it was? Or you just said a tank? So if it's a taller tank, as long as the top of the water in the tank is higher than the water going into the bucket, it's still going to flow, maybe not all that fast. So to get the dead hornwort needles off, I might just go ahead and use the hand pump squeezy thing, suck up a little bit of water. The pump is going to clog anyway. Put your hand over it, pull it out, shake it, get the nasty stuff in the bucket, and keep doing that a few times. It should get most of it out. Obviously, you can use a net, kind of stir it up a little bit, but the combination of those two things will hopefully get most of it out.
Texas Cattle Dogger, are you both fixing to be at Aquashella in Dallas this year? Heck yeah.
Yep, we are.
Can't wait.
All the plans are set and settled. We have our travel plans arranged. We will be there. So looking forward to it. And like I said on Wednesday's live stream, it's going to be fun. There are some things we're doing, at least in the creator booth, that we haven't done in a while, and we're getting back to some of our roots, because that creator booth was supposed to be like party central. It wasn't just supposed to be some people standing around talking, although that's great too. It was supposed to be more. It's going to be more this time.
Mm-hmm. Are you ready? Oh, sorry. Are you done?
I'm done.
Okay, good. From Charlotte, I have an empty 14-gallon cube. Suggestions on stocking list. I want a 14-gallon cube. I want any kind of cube. I'm like obsessed. I would, well, in my head, I picture shrimp. I picture like chili rasboras would be like the bomb. Like a center, like island scape. Oh yeah, that's coming sometime whenever I get my hands on that kind of tank. Let's see, what else? Those would be my first two. A Betta would be really great.
Not with chili rasboras.
No, not with. I'm just giving individual individual choices
Yeah.
if you wanted to,
and in that case, then you just go with larger schooling fish like ember tetras, gold, some type of neon-ish type thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you've got, for 14 cube, you could do some pygmy cory cats. I think that'd be cool, like a half a dozen of those. Sparkling gouramis would also, especially if you did a center. If you had like a center scape, the sparkling gouramis might be interesting. Pea puffers.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I know. See, this is my awake brain in the morning. Maybe we should just shift all of our stuff to the morning time and have better ideas instead of
they
nighttime.
actually make more sense in the morning.
Yep. James says, I'll be there in the Aqua Gallery. Yep.
Yes.
Cool. Are you working on Escape for that too?
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be awesome.
Yeah, I can't even imagine how long it takes you, James, to work on a Scape. Anybody that shows up with their Scape with saran wrap over the tank, and like bazillions of plants.
This thing just needs to stay as still as possible. Not one piece of sand needs to move. There's perfection here.
If you see me like running through Aquascaping when I first get there, it's like, where's James' tank?
The booth, the #1 booth at Aquascaping is and has been for a very, very long time the Oaza booth. There is that is the centerpiece of the show. Yeah. And it is phenomenal. When you go and look at these tanks, it's one of those places where you can just stop, take a breath, relax, and it's like an art gallery.
It is like an art gallery.
That is what they, and an aqua gallery, I mean, that was the whole point. And you go there and you chill and you spend time there because it would be very easy with the number of tanks they have set up, the way they're set up, and just the complexity of each one of the scapes. You could easily spend an hour, maybe more, if you take your time and really appreciate the details of each scape. Yeah. It's worth it.
Yeah, totally worth it.
All right, maybe we'll do 1 or 2 more questions, and then we're going to head out because it's a Saturday, and everybody's got things going on, I'm sure. JK Fishkeeping says, I just got some chilies yesterday for the first time.
Oh,
good.
You're gonna love
Hope
them.
You like them.
They're really red. They're way more red than the like the Miras.
The Dwarfs. And the Miras,
yeah. You get a lot of color in those tiny little bodies.
Crystal says, have you guys ever had bamboo shrimp? Yeah, we have them. You'll be seeing them. Well, not really seeing them very well, but they are in one of our tanks, our 40 breeder tanks with some Neocaridina shrimp. I like them.
I'm trying to warm up to them.
They are creepy when you see them crawling around, but ours always stay way in the back of the tank. They are on top of the airline for our sponge filter because they're filter feeders, so they just love it up there, like but they're creepy. And I remember we had a bag of them. We got them from Flip Aquatics at one of the Aquashellas. I opened up the bag. I poured them into a net over a bucket, but they crawl everywhere. So they're not like little shrimp where they're just like, okay, then you put them in the water. These guys are starting to crawl. They're starting to crawl on my hand. They're like cockroaches. They were crawling on my hands. Like, get off me, get in the tank. It just creeped me out. And I don't get creeped out very easily. And even watching them like walk around, they're very insect-like, but they've definitely grown on me. I like them a lot. I think it adds a lot of interest to a tank.
Let's see, Chris, do you know how many tanks you have? How many fish you have? Well, let's see.
We have 80 tanks.
80 total.
At any given time, we can have anywhere from, I don't know, maybe 1,500 to 5,000 fish in the house. I mean, there have been times, like especially before swaps, if I go out and get 1,000 fish, 2,000 fish, and that's just those are just, and they're small. Don't get me wrong. I'm not like, hey, I just got 1,000 Midas cichlids full grown. I mean, talking like chili rasboras and galaxies. So it's very easy, anywhere from 1,500 to 5,000 fish in our house at any given time, at least.
And then the tanks that I would consider under mine would be less than 20 of those 80. So nano tanks, either in the nano nook down the basement or scattered throughout the house, in the living room, and the kitchen, and here. Yeah. And in the office,
I mean, just to give you an idea, just these 4 tanks alone right behind us, they're only 8.3 gallon. And then this little one, that doesn't count. There's nothing in there. But this one, we've got the Dwarf rasboras. There's probably 20 of them in here, but they're really small. This tank has the least killifish. There's probably 6 or so, plus some mystery snails. This one's got probably a dozen white clouds. That one's got a honey gourami and at least a half a dozen embers. So just right there, it's like that's a decent number of fish. They're not very big, but it's a good number. So, let's do one more.
All right, I'm going to do 2 more because there's a question I've seen. Okay. Static, are you going to vlog any Aquashella? Being a Brit, it's a bit of a trek to get there. LL. Oh my gosh, right? Yeah, if it wasn't such a trek to get from like the UK, I'd be at the UK a lot.
Well, they just had a big thing in, was it Germany? They had, Corey was out there. I don't remember what it was called, but it was a big deal.
Yeah.
Vlogging, I don't know. So if we did any vlogging, that's usually something that you do. But it's not live. It's usually just something that you put on your channel afterwards. I will do on Primetime Aquatics. I just highlight the fish because I feel like most people, if they haven't been there, they often want to just see like what were the best tanks and the best fish. So that's what I do.
Yeah. I haven't decided exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to try and get a game plan before I get to Aquashella this time as opposed to other years, because I do have the Scape that I'm doing at the Owaza booth. I have our booth in the YouTuber area, you know, where we bring shirts and stuff and meet people. So there's a few little things to kind of plan around, but I'd like to do something a little different and fun. And then there's another question. What do you do with a retired Bettas display with a bunch of glass boxes and bottom sump drip system? Is there somehow you could like use that? I don't do anything with like sump.
So those Bettas displays, they're very, very tiny, maybe quarter gallon at best. Most of the people I've seen just put more Bettas in there. They just resell them.
Yeah, it's not really a good permanent solution to keep multiple
No,
Bettas.
it really isn't. No, it's definitely not.
You could use it for if you're into aquatic plants. That would be kind of fun if you get new plants. But even
that, it would be like, okay, I put a crip in there and just letting it grow out, but it seems like such a waste in a way, because then you have to light up all those things, right? And maybe it's already got a light.
It would be like a plant gallery for me, though. So
I guess, yeah, like one plant, like I am displaying.
Yes, it'd be like a showcase. That would be actually really cool.
They'd also have to be very, very small plants, because you can't.
Yeah, I get a lot of tiny plants.
But it's an entire Bettas display thing, so there's only so much you can do before they outgrow them, or just you're out of tiny, tiny plant options.
You use them in Scapes then.
So anyway, yeah. All right, one last one. Gingerfish, she says, I have a group of 12 ember tetras that don't seem to really be coloring up. I had them about 6 months. Any tips? A lot of fish are extremely sensitive to a couple things: color of the background, color of your substrate, other fish. So they will lose color if they are afraid of other fish in the tank. They will try to do the best job they can of blending in with their surroundings. And ember tetras I found to be especially prone to that. Like if you look at our ember tetras and I'll show this off in part 3 of the fish room tour, we got a ton of ember tetras that we brought in. And we still have in a 20-gallon lawn, maybe 50 or 60 in a 20-gallon lawn. They've got really great color because the background is very dark, and the substrate, even though the substrate I think on that tank is somewhat lighter, the background is dark, and they've got a lot of really nice color. So those are the two main things.
James brought up a really good point.
What's that?
The display would be great for rare plants. Yes, or individual Buse species and Nubia species.
So B101, I don't see your question either. So you said you tried it a number of times. It's not coming up. I see the test. Yeah, I see something that says test. Oh, here it is. Why don't my swordlets grow when I snip them off the main plant?
Oh.
I don't know. I've never tried to do that.
Me neither.
So you asked the question. We finally see it. And we're like,
oh, wow. Anybody? Swords?
I don't know.
I don't. The only ones I deal with are micro swords, which aren't micro swords. And then I always forget the name of the
Java.
No, my latest, the one that I just put in the tank, the corkscrew valve looking one.
Crypspiralis?
No, it's a sword. I can never remember the name of it. It's the swervy little tiny crypt one, or sword.
There you go. Little tiny crypt
I'll
sword.
think of it as soon as the stream ends.
Yeah. So anyway, that's the story there.
There we go.
We are going to wrap this bad boy up because I know a lot of you want to start your weekend and do other things outside because it's probably nice outside. And that was fun. So congratulations to, was it Matthew that won that? The Venti?
Congratulations. Did you give you said where to send the address, right?
I got the address thing. Thank you to everyone who sent the super stickers and super chats, and Dave and James and Oink Master.
Thanks so much.
For being here, holding down the fort. We will do this more often because we are really running up to the end of baseball season. Our weekends, periodically, at least in Saturday mornings, will hopefully free up a little bit more. Not next weekend or the weekend after because we got baseball there. But after that, things will open up a little bit more. So thank you so much for being here, hanging out with us. It was fun. It's nice to be able to hang out with people in the morning instead of late on a Wednesday evening. But if you want more live stream stuff, Primetime Aquatics, Wednesday evening, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. Hopefully we will see you there. Have a wonderful 4th of July weekend.
Bye.